Thank you for joining us for the second episode of For the Love of Food. I'm your host, Cathy Braner. We so appreciate all of your encouraging words after our first episode, and honestly, we really didn't anticipate that there'd be additional shows, so thank you for those. If you missed our first episode, I shared the background of my love of food. I grew up in a Eastern European family where food was the center of all of our family gatherings. I had a mother, aunts, and grandmothers that loved to cook, and they instilled that love in me. We had Sunday family meals and holiday traditions, and it was when I was with them that I learned to love food, and I wanted to carry that into my family because to me, food is family, and I love all the memories that can be created with food. Before we get started, I do want to express gratitude to all of the healthcare workers, first responders, and lift up in prayer those who are suffering from COVID-19. You are in our thoughts and prayers. So for today's menu, we have a Middle Eastern flair. We will be preparing grilled Aleppo chicken and Lebanese rice with vermicelli. For our dessert, we will continue down our chocolate route with a chocolate cookie this time instead of the lava cake. So let's get started with our rice. The first time I had Lebanese rice was when we were up in Canada visiting some of Dave's family. Due to health and age, they had a family friend that assisted them with cooking. Her name was Ria, and she was from Lebanon. And that was the first time I had Lebanese rice. I fell in love with it, and I decided when I got back home, I was determined to figure out how to make Lebanese rice. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with browning the vermicelli. Today, I actually don't have vermicelli in my pantry, so we're gonna use angel hair pasta. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with heating up the clarified butter, and I'm gonna use about a 1/4 cup of clarified butter. If you don't have clarified butter, you can use olive oil or some other kind of oil. Clarified butter, this is one that I purchased from Trader Joe's, and it has a very high smoke point, so you can start with that. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take about a 1/2 cup of pasta. Like I said, I'm using angel hair pasta today, but you can use vermicelli, you can use spaghetti, and all I'm gonna do is take my pasta and I'm gonna break it into bite-sized pieces. So I'll just break those. I want about a 1/2 cup of my pasta. So once again, whatever you have. And if you aren't gluten-free, you can substitute this for a gluten-free pasta. So there we have about our 1/2 cup. I'm gonna take it over to my clarified butter, and all we're gonna do is brown this. You do have to be careful when you're doing this that you keep an eye on it, because it will take about 4 minutes to brown, but once it starts browning, it will go pretty quickly. So Matthew's gonna keep an eye on that for me while we let our vermicelli brown. So next we're gonna work on our rice. So I have 1.5 cups of white rice, and it's really important with this recipe that you rinse the rice to remove as much of the starch as possible. So there's different ways you can remove the starch. Some people like to put it in a bowl and soak it in water, but I'm just gonna take it over and I'm just gonna rinse it with water. I'm gonna keep rinsing it. I literally am gonna just take my hand and move the rice around so that I can get as much of it under the water to remove as much of that excess starch as possible. This rice is really easy, and you'll find most of the ingredients you have at home. It's just the pasta with the rice, and then we just have salt and pepper with it too. I'm gonna actually top mine with some toasted pine nuts. That's not something you have to do. I've made it before where I don't put the pine nuts on it, but if you choose to have a little texture, a little crunch with it, you can add the pine nuts. Another thing I know I've seen people do with their rice is they may saute mushrooms to add to it. You can top it with parsley. So there's many different things you can do with the rice. It's a really nice leftover dish too. This is going to make quite a bit of rice. 1.5 cups of dry rice is going to make quite a bit of rice, but I love it for leftovers. I've taken it where I've made rice bowls with it. You can take any type of meat, make a rice bowl, make a little tzatziki to add with it. So it's a really nice way to have some leftovers too. Now let's take a look at this vermicelli. You can start seeing the color that it's getting, right? So it's starting to get that golden brown color. We're just gonna let it go for a couple more minutes, but once it starts, at first you may think it's not moving very quick, but once it starts, it really starts to brown quickly. And you just wanna keep flipping it around so that all of it can have that color. Once the rice is completely browned, we're gonna add the rice to the vermicelli, and we're gonna just toss the rice for a couple minutes to get that toasted too. To that, we are then gonna add 3 cups of boiling water, okay? And then we have some salt and pepper that we'll add to it too. You can see now that this is really starting to take on a nice golden brown color. I don't know about you, but I never really thought about having pasta with rice, so this was kind of a new change when I first had it. But my family loves this. Okay, so I think we're at a good point now. Look at how quickly that pasta took on a nice brown color. So now I'm gonna take that 1.5 cups of rice that I had rinsed off, and we're just gonna wanna stir it around for a few minutes, let that rice get a little toasted with the vermicelli.
How high do you have the heat right now, Kath?
Well, now I have about medium-high heat on my stovetop. Okay, so we'll just do this for a couple minutes, and then I have 3 cups of boiling water that I will add to my rice and my vermicelli. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that now. That's 3 cups. And now we're gonna turn it on high heat because we want this to come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, we will just turn it to low heat and we'll let it simmer for 15 minutes. To this, I'm gonna also add 1.5 teaspoons of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. So we'll add the salt and pepper into the rice. You'll see it's starting to do a little bubbling around the edges. Give it a stir.
We're getting a question here. Can you use jasmine or
basmati? Yes.
Basmati rice.
Yes, I'm actually using basmati rice for this. Good question. I think jasmine would work fine too, but I am using basmati rice. It just seems to be the type of rice that I have at home often. So I am using basmati rice for this dish. Okay, so let's take a look at our rice one more time. It's starting to come to a nice boil. So we're gonna give it another minute and then we're gonna turn it on low. And we will let it simmer. And Matthew's gonna just keep an eye on the rice while we're doing the rest of our menu. You do want to give it a stir now and then to make sure it's not sticking on the bottom. But that's really pretty easy for a rice dish. Okay, so I'm gonna put the lid on.
Okay, Stephanie wants credit for asking the question.
That was Stephanie.
About the rice,
That's
yeah.
Awesome, hi Steph. Okay, so we're gonna keep that on low. I'm gonna set a timer just so we can keep track of that rice. 15 minutes for our rice to simmer, and that will be ready. Okay, on to our chicken. So the chicken, grilled Aleppo chicken, gets its name from the Aleppo pepper. We are going to be using Aleppo pepper, dried Aleppo pepper in our dish. And I don't know about you, but I had never heard of Aleppo pepper before. But my college roommate Mary had gifted me with Aleppo pepper a few years ago, and I had to find out something that I could do with it. So Aleppo pepper is a milder pepper than our traditional red chili pepper that we use, or we might sprinkle on our pizzas. It actually comes from Syria, from the northern Syrian city of Aleppo. So to get started, I'm going to first show you that I marinated some chicken overnight. This is a marinade that I like to marinate overnight with. And before we start the marinade, I'm going to have Matthew start grilling the chicken that marinated overnight. So let's take a walk outside. And Matthew has the chicken that I marinated overnight, and he is going to start grilling it. Before he starts grilling it, he's going to sprinkle it with salt and pepper, and he's going to place it on the grill, and it will cook about 6 minutes on each side. So he's just adding the salt and pepper before he places it on the grill. He's going to grill it on a medium-high grill. The grill has been preheating. So he's going to go ahead and put it on the grill. He's got some lemons that he is going to add to the grill after the chicken is just about done. The lemons will only need about 2 minutes on the grill, and they're just going to be something that we can serve on the side and squeeze a little lemon juice over the chicken. He's got 2 pounds of chicken that he is putting on. These are boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And as I mentioned, I made this marinade last night, and the chicken's been sitting in it all night, and now he is just throwing it on the grill. Okay, while Matthew does that, we're gonna go back in and we are gonna show you how to make the marinade. So, I wanted to show you a little bit of the pepper, what the pepper looks like. It looks a little different than our traditional red chili pepper. It's a little bit more burgundy in color. So what we're gonna start with is a large bowl, and I'm gonna take 1.5 tablespoons of my Aleppo pepper, and I'm going to put that into the bottom of my bowl. And to that, I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of warm water. And all we're doing here is allowing the water to be absorbed into the pepper, okay? So I'm just gonna mix it around, let that pepper absorb that water, and all we're really doing is hydrating it a little bit in this step, okay? And you're just gonna want the pepper to absorb that water for a few minutes, all right? So let's go on to the rest of our marinade ingredients. We're going to add to this 1 cup of Greek yogurt. Now, I don't know about you, but yogurt is really a great tenderizer for meat. It is a little gentler on meat compared to acidic marinade. So you could use Greek yogurt as a base for any marinade and add any other kind of flavors to it. So we're gonna have 1 cup of our Greek yogurt. So I'm gonna add that to the Aleppo pepper. Now, the other thing about this Aleppo pepper, I mentioned that it originates from Syria, from the city of Aleppo in Syria. And traditionally what they would do is they would take these peppers, instead of actually washing them, they would dry them, wipe them with a cloth, and then they would cut them open, they de-seed them, and they would lay them on their rooftops to dry. Once dried, they would add in some salt and some oil, and before doing that, they would of course grind them. So you would have your ground Aleppo peppers that were dried out with some salt and olive oil, and that is the process for how they create Aleppo pepper. You'll notice as I start mixing in the yogurt, it's really a beautiful color. And it's kind of a little therapeutic. I know all of us are in search of therapeutic things to do during this time, so it's kind of like painting when you're taking your Aleppo pepper and you're mixing it in with your yogurt. So that's our 1 cup of yogurt. To that, we are also going to add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. This is just tomato paste out of a can or out of a tube, whatever form you use. We also have 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I also have a 1/2 tablespoon of salt and about 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. So those are the ingredients that are going in here. We're just going to give it a good mix to ensure that all those are incorporated. One thing I like about this chicken is because I think it works best when it marinates overnight, you can make this marinade, put the chicken in, put it in the fridge, and then the next day when dinner is ready, you just have to pull it out and toss it on the grill. So it's kind of convenient in the regards that it's a two-step process and you can make the marinade ahead of time. All right, so before we add the chicken, we still have 2 more ingredients to add. So we are gonna take 5 or 6 garlic cloves. It just depends on the size of your garlic cloves. And what's nice about this is we're gonna take our knife and we are just gonna give it a whack, take the peel off of our garlic, and I like to even kind of break it up a little bit after it's flattened. So you're gonna smash it, and we're gonna do that to about 4 or 5 more garlic cloves. So you're gonna have 5 or 6 total. So we'll just add in those garlic cloves. Okay. And the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take 1 lemon, and we are gonna slice 1 lemon, and we're gonna add those slices to the marinade too. Now, you notice when we took the chicken outside to be grilled, we also gave Matthew 2 lemon halves because we'd like to grill those and add those as a little accompaniment to the grilled chicken. So I'm gonna put in my lemon slices. And what I usually do, since I have the ends of the lemon, I like to just squeeze whatever juice is in the ends of the lemon into the marinade. So there you have it. You have your Aleppo pepper, your yogurt, your Greek yogurt. You have your tomato paste, your red wine vinegar, your olive oil, your garlic, and your lemon. And that is your marinade. Okay, so now that our marinade is done, I have here 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. You can also make this with chicken breast, but I'm going to use boneless, skinless chicken thighs today. And before I do that, I'm going to give my rice a little, you can see that water is really being absorbed. So it's almost ready. Okay.
About how long is to you?
So usually the rice takes about 15 minutes, and you're just going to want to check it.
So we're about 10 minutes into that rice?
Yeah, we have about 6 minutes left on the rice. So, all right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my boneless, skinless chicken thighs, this is 2 pounds, and I'm going to add this to my marinade. Now, what I find works, because this yogurt is thick, I really want to take the marinade and coat each piece of chicken. So we're just going to take each piece, and we're just going to add it into the marinade, and just make sure we coat each side of it. I found in the past when I first made it, I just kind of threw the chicken in, and I really didn't notice that the chicken needs to really be worked into it. So that's what we're gonna do. You also can double this recipe. So if you have a crowd, and this is, by the way, I think a great dish when you're having company. I've made it before, and it really is a flavor that I find that most people have enjoyed. So we've got a couple more pieces to add in here. And then we are going to cover this and put it in our refrigerator to let it marinate in all those flavors. Okay, our last piece of chicken. And we will put this aside. Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands really quick. And let's
Matthew's
move on.
outside. Hey Matthew, how you doing?
Okay, so while we're waiting for the rice to finish, and while we are waiting for our rice to finish, we're gonna move on to our dessert. So we have a very simple dessert again, and we've got a special ingredient here. The special ingredient is a boxed cake mix. So what we're making today is a chocolate cookie. It has 1 block of cream cheese in it, 1 stick of butter, 1 egg, some vanilla, and then you have your cake mix. Today we're using a chocolate cake mix, but what the Braner family decided to do during our pandemic is to have some fun with our cookies, and we have decided to do a challenge, a little cookie challenge, and substitute our chocolate cake mix with every possible cake mix that's out there. We've already made lemon, we've done strawberry, we've done funfetti, we still have to do carrot and red velvet. So that's what's kind of fun about this recipe. Even though the basic recipe is using a chocolate cake mix, you can really switch it out and do whatever flavor cake mix you really enjoy. So we just thought it would be something fun to do while we're locked in the house. So what we're gonna do, this dough, as I mentioned, is just the 1 block of cream cheese, 1 stick of butter, 1 egg, a little vanilla, and our cake mix. I made my dough ahead of time because it does need to chill for 2 hours in the refrigerator, but I'm going to show you what we need to do.
Maura says her favorite cookies.
Thanks, Maura. I have another story to share as I start these cookies. Let me show you what it is, but thanks, Maura. These are really good. They're so simple, but they're really, really good. So I mix the dough. When you do these cookies, you're going to want to do the cream cheese and the butter first, add your egg, add your vanilla, and then add your cake mix. You then want to refrigerate it for 2 hours, so this dough has been sitting in the refrigerator. And then all you need to do at that point is take a tablespoon of the dough, and I'm going to wash my hands one more time with soap because I really don't want to be touching this dough without thoroughly washing my hands. So give me 1 second while I do a good wash, since I was touching raw chicken.
So just to be clear, you put all those ingredients in, you just mixed them in a mixer?
Yeah. So like I said, you just put it in your mixer. You can use your hand mixer. You want to cream the cream cheese and the butter together first. That's 1 block of cream cheese, 1 stick of butter, and then you want to add the egg, add the vanilla, and add the actual cake mix. Let's give our rice one more stir really quick. Okay, this is looking great. Looks like we're almost there. Okay. So I'm going to take a teaspoon and I am going to roll these into little balls. And this is why you really need to put it in the refrigerator for 2 hours, because it really is sticky. And then I have here a bowl of powdered sugar. So all I'm doing is rolling those cookies in the powdered sugar, putting them on my baking sheet. Our oven is preheating at 350 degrees. And I'm going to tell you another story while I finish rolling these cookies. My friend Amy and Amy's a good friend and a work colleague. About 17 years ago, we decided that we were going to take a day off of work and we were going to make Christmas cookies. So that tradition started, and Amy and I are both IT project managers, so we couldn't help but apply our project management skills to our Christmas cookie baking. So we've been doing it every year, and every year we have our little planning session to plan out what we're gonna make. And we also, after we have our cooking day, we have a little debrief in the project management world that's called Lessons Learned. And we document what we learned, we document what we will do differently next year. And that really is a tradition that has been going on for, like I said, about 17 years. So Amy and I have added these cookies to our cookie list for our Christmas cookies. So it's kind of fun. We always make the chocolate version when we're doing our cookies, but we could decide maybe this year we'll add some red velvet for the Christmas color. So I've got just a few more more to roll for this.
I'm going to check on Matthew here real quick. Matthew's on camera again. Wave to the camera, Matthew. There we go. He's cooking away. We got a thumbs up from Matthew on the grill. So all good.
Once again, for the chicken thighs that Matthew's grilling, it's about 6 minutes on each side. He's also going to throw those 2 lemon halves on so we can get a little grilled lemon on the side to serve with our chicken. If you're serving this rice and this chicken, you can serve with it maybe some green beans, maybe some asparagus. Those are nice veggies to go along with it. So we're almost done. I've got 2 more cookies to go. And our oven is preheating at 350 degrees. I'm hoping that you all have a cake mix in your pantry because I'm hearing that cake mixes are also empty shelves along with the flour. All right, so here we have our cookie dough rolled in our powdered sugar, and we're going to put it in our 350 degree oven. There we go. These are going to take about 12 minutes. So we'll set a timer for that. Let me rinse the cookie dough off my hands. And I do have some cookies that were in the oven already that I can pull out, and we could see what the finished product looks like. So you'll see what happens is as these cookies bake, they kind of get that little crinkle look to them. My family really liked the lemon ones. The strawberry ones were not one of the favorites. They did like the funfetti too. It looks like Matthew must have put the lemons on the grill. And then sometimes I like to just hit them with another little hit of powdered sugar. And there you have it. And look at Dave. Dave's going in for the cookies. How is it, Dave?
Yum.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plate our rice since that is done. And Matthew's finishing up with the chicken. So here's our rice. Like I said, it's really a little confusing to me why this rice is so good. I don't know if it's just the addition of that pasta, but it really has a lot of flavor. You can serve it just like this if you'd like. I'm gonna top it with my pine nuts that I just toasted in a skillet on top of the stove. So we'll take the rice over here. Here's my pine nuts. So I toasted these ahead of time. All I did was take a skillet on top of the stove. I put my pine nuts in and I just let them get that little brownish color. And you'll know when they're ready because you'll just start smelling the oils that are being released. And I'm just gonna sprinkle those across the top. And there you have it. Here is your Lebanese rice with the vermicelli. Okay, so let's go check on Matthew. Let's see if he's thinking 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes.
Yeah, 2 more minutes on
Okay.
the chicken. Do we have any other questions out in the audience today for our menu?
It's gonna take people a second to type it. Just so you know, people that I saw Deborah Blaubach, Linda Lane, Linda Hawkins, John Norman, Deb Blaubach, Maura, Stephanie, Lowell Moore is a guy I went to high school with.
Hello.
Anna Marie Tomzak, she's actually a reporter for the Herald, so maybe she would actually report on, or I don't know if she might be retired. Jack King is a friend of mine from work. Norma Johnson, somebody I worked with at Simcoe, and so there's just a lot of people been watching
Thank
today.
You guys. Thank
So
you
we're
for
very
joining
excited
us.
about this. Let's go outside and we'll check on Matthew pulling this off. How we doing, Matthew? Let's take a look here.
I think we're almost done right here.
Okay, I think they're probably pretty good at this point. Oh yeah, they're going to use circles.
So you see here, Matthew took those 2 lemon halves and he sprinkled them with salt and pepper, and then he went ahead and grilled them. And you see they're a little caramelized. What we can do then is we can actually squeeze some of that good lemon juice on the chicken. What I love about this chicken is you'll see it gets those little crispy grill marks on it. Those are some of my favorite bites on this chicken. And it still retains that beautiful color from that Aleppo pepper. This would be really good in a pita. You could cut it up into bite-sized pieces, and you could put it into a pita too. So let's go ahead and take our chicken inside. We're gonna have Matthew give a little taste to it.
Why don't you have Kevin come up?
Okay.
The dogs can come up too.
So we're gonna have Kevin be our taster today. If Matthew wants to run and grab Kevin. Okay. So we'll give him a piece of the chicken. And we'll give him some of the Aleppo rice. And I hear the dogs coming up too. They probably are thinking that they're gonna get some of the chicken too.
Wait, Argo, sit.
We're gonna go ahead and take.
There's Argo.
There's Argo. We're gonna take some of our lemon that we grilled, and we're gonna drizzle that over our dish and leave that on the side. So Kevin, can you be our taste tester for today? This is our son Kevin. He's gonna give a taste of the Aleppo chicken and the Lebanese rice.
Okay, so I'm getting a comment from Leanne. Kevin did literally no work. I think I should be the taste tester.
That's great.
But he did watch the dogs, right?
Well,
So
I see it as I'm not the most positive about any of this. It's not working against taste all that. It's excellent, as usual.
Kevin said it's excellent as usual. Thanks, Kevin.
So we got some green lights here from the food. And then, of course, there's dessert, Kevin.
Kev, you have to taste one of the cookies, too. These are one of Kevin's favorite cookies. Kevin loves the lemon ones, too, but he is always game for me offering those up. I hope you have a cake mix at home that you can try these and a block of cream cheese. They're really easy to whip up, and they are definitely a crowd pleaser. So thank you again for joining us for the Food of Love. Please stay safe and please stay home. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Low battery.